Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wow, this good morning. The service has just been unfolding so beautifully. I have to remember. I have it now. All is well. And you know what? We're being taped here by Ed. Wonderful. Great. So, it is a good morning, isn't it?
Yes.
In spite of the fog, it's okay. We can see through that. You know what metaphysics is? It's looking beyond the appearances. So that's a good test for us when we see the fog. But we're going to continue on with the basic 4 chapters in the introduction to the science of mind. The first chapter is the thing itself, and that is this intelligence. I sum it up in one line. It's this intelligence that we live and move and have our being in. And then that second chapter is the way it works. It works for us, through us, in us, as us. So it needs us. We are its outlets. And then today is what it does. Wow. What does it do? Well, its divine nature is to impart. And ours is to receive. So it's there waiting for you and I. It's always there. So if I was to sum this lesson up with just one sentence, I would say, let's go with the flow. Go with the flow. That was so perfect in your meditation that you made the statement that I flow with the natural harmony of the universe. That's what we want to do. That should be our goal. See, the science of mind teaching is to break the mold. Come out from what the world has defined as you, or you have taken on what the world has said you are, to really know your true self, to break that mold and come into living in the harmony with this flow of this river of life that's flowing in and through you. That's how it imparts. It flows in and through you and I. Now, let's say it's a river. There is a river of life flowing through you. There's an old hymn about that. There's a river of life flowing in and through me. Makes the lame to walk and the blind to see. It really is true. There's a river of life flowing in and through you and I. Now, I've never been kayaking, but I'm told that it's a wonderful experience. But I'm also told if you get out on that river, you need to have on a life jacket. Because it can be turbulence there, and the waters can be rough there. So you really need to take care and put on a life jacket. I don't know if I ever will try that now. It sounds really nice, and I love the water, but I think I'll just trust that river of life in me. I'll settle for that river. But you know what? Dr. Holmes says that the flow is divine right action that is always taking place. Always. And we are wise to harmonize with this intelligence. Come into its flow. Now the Tao refers to the flow as nameless, formless, and all-pervasive power. It's an energy that's in all things. Now the lesson today is bringing us into the awareness that this energy It's all around us and it's within us. That's what we want to leave here knowing, that we are the channels, we are the outlet for this energy. The lady didn't understand this dream that she was having. Every night she told her therapist that I have this dream. It's a reoccurring dream that this dragon comes to my bedside, picks me up, and the therapist said, and what? And she said, I don't know. I wake up. He said, well, how long have you been having this dream? Well, it's been about 2 months now. So the therapist told her, you know what, in order to find out, you need to just let the dream play itself out. Try not to wake up. So she goes home and she goes to sleep. Sure enough, she has the dream. Dragon comes to her bed, picks her up, and she looks up at the dragon and she says, now what are you going to do with me? And the dragon says, I don't know, lady. It's your dream. Could this possibly be that we are unconsciously resisting the flow? Could that possibly be? Oh no, we wouldn't dare do that. We think we're always in tune to what's going on. But sometimes I think unconsciously we do things. You know, we unconscious and we're in and out of conscious. We go in and we go out. And sometimes, very subtle, we may be resisting. When you are faced with adversities or challenges, do you exit the flow? Well, you can't really exit the flow because the flow is always within you. So you will not exit the flow. But what you'll do is what I would say, sit on the sidelines and just watch life pass you by. Or do you just go with the flow? There's an old saying that we had in the insurance business that said, when it gets tough, the tough gets going. Or do you just hang in there and just ride the tide? Sometimes we think we have a handle on life and only to find out, oh, the handle breaks. Something breaks down. Have you ever thought about it? Just the other day, we were at the church. I'm looking at all the walls coming down. Oh my. It looks so different. And with the walls coming down, we are discovering things that we had not anticipated. Now, do we just sit on the side and say, oh my, we can't give it back. We bought the building. We can't give it back. So, it's like we out here and we're in the middle of this river. In the middle. Do we try to swim back? Or do we just stay with the flow and move forward? Of course, we stay in the flow. But to stay in the flow and move forward, that means we need to what? Trust the system. Trust the process. Trust life. If ever you're going to find if it really works, is in times like these. Oh, it's easy to do when everything is going right and everything is just perfect. That is so easy. That's not a problem. But no, now is the time to stay focused. We stand in our faith and in our truth. And you know what faith really is when you find out in a time like this? Faith is simply believing that which seems unimaginable, which seems maybe even impossible. I don't care. We're moving forward. When you stay with the flow, and a good way to really recognize, are you staying with the flow with what's going on in your life, is to, when you find yourselves in situations like that, where is your attention? Where is your attention? Is it on what you don't have, or is it on what you know you have? Because where your attention goes, you know what? Energy flows. It flows through our attention, through our focus. We are creating at all times. We are literally creating this, what the Tao says is absolutely fluid. It's formless. But it's our thoughts that brings it into form. We just sung the song. Our thoughts are prayers. Our thoughts are things. We are created. Now here, tomorrow, we celebrate the great Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. This man, who was a Nobel Peace Prize, this man who has all kinds of PhDs, his philosophy was a non-violent philosophy. And it could only be that when you allow yourself to be in the flow. He never backed down. But he stood for truth and for what was right for all humanity. Not just one, but for all. And so we can look at his life, and we too can celebrate that life, because that's the same life that's in you and I. There's only this one life. And you know what Dr. King said in his book titled, The Measure of a Man? He said that I decided to give my life to something that's eternal and absolute. I decided to give my life to something that's eternal and absolute. Yes, I too have made that same decision. And this is the decision that we make when we are in the flow. When we go with this river and we allow ourselves to just let it carry us. You ever heard that poem about footprints in the sand? That's what it's talking about. When there's only one set of footprints, and that's when the Creator said, those were the times when I had to carry you. There are those times, and we just being truthful about it. There are those times when it just has to carry us along. But what we must know is that we can trust it. We can be assured that it will not fail us. We can know that it is always there. It's like this Sea of Galilee, and to the north of the Sea of Galilee lies the Dead Sea. Now, the Jordan River feeds both of those seas. It feeds, the water goes into the Sea of Galilee. The water goes into the Dead Sea. There's an amazing difference between the two. Sea of Galilee, it's fervent, vibrant, alive. The Dead Sea, salty. I don't know how they say it's salty, because I don't know who would taste it. But the water is stagnant. It's just what it says, it's dead. It flows through, the water flows through the Sea of Galilee. But in the Dead Sea, it just flows in. That's it. A clenched hand. It just flows in. Doesn't that tell us something? That to me means that our lives must be open like the Sea of Galilee, to allow it to flow through. Listen, we cannot just have an open hand and always getting and getting and getting and getting and taking and taking and taking and never releasing. Letting it go. There's a yin and the yang to life. That's that balance. That's the balance of giving and receiving. So if you go through life always getting and not giving, oh, let me tell you about this lady. There was a lady, very rich lady, and she just hired a new chauffeur. So she goes out to the car, and chauffeur opens up the door and lets her in. He gets in, where to, ma'am? And she says, now, what is your name? And he said, James. Oh, that's your first name. I never call my drivers by their first name. So what's your last name? And he said, Darling. She says, drive on, James. She could not bring herself to call this man a term of endearment name as darling. To give a compliment. You know, you've got to be willing to give something. You can't just always receive love or receive gifts or receive anything without sometime or another giving something of yourself. And so what I'm really focusing on the fact that we must see ourselves as this Sea of Galilee that allows this fluid substance to flow through us. And so just as this is true with the planet and the water cycle of life, it's also true in our prosperity life. It works the same way. Nature is really just exemplifying to us how this power and this energy works. So without a generous outflow, then the ebb and the tide of the universe just becomes stagnant. And we can create this in our own lives. And I really don't think we want to do that. You know, we talk about our meditation on Tuesday nights. In our meditation, we are doing the deep breathing. And as you breathe in deep and you exhale, you know what you're doing? You are creating an outflow. You're creating a bigger flow for that substance to fill you. That the more you take in, the more you can give out. Because it's there to impart itself to you. However, it cannot impart until you know that you can receive it. It will not just push itself off on you. No, it does not work that way. The same thing is true if you think that someone has something better. This thing is no respecter of person. It gives to all and to all the same. So here is my point for this lesson. We must find a way. We must find a way to intentionally make every effort in our lives to remain true to our deepest selves. That part of us that's created in the image and likeness of God. We must find a way to slow ourselves down, to stop listening to the chatter of the mind, and to really allow ourselves to be in touch with this river of life that's flowing through us by being in the present moment. The thing itself, this intelligence, is simply saying, I'm here. How much of this can you take in? How much of it can you embody? That's what it's saying. So as you just sit up and just take in this deep breath. Just breathe in deep and feel your stomach expanding, expanding. And then when you exhale, exhale, just let it out. Just let it go. Let it go. Release it. You're going with the ebb and the tide of this river when you breathe. So when you breathe in, you can't breathe in without exhale. Sooner or later, you're going to exhale. You really will. Not unless you want to just move on. And if you're ready, you can do that too. But I'm not suggesting that. I'm simply suggesting that we within ourselves create a bigger capacity for this thing itself. For it to really reveal itself. Because the funny thing about it is that the more we express it, the more it becomes conscious of itself, and the more it wants to express. So we are these magnificent, awesome, awesome divine channels or outlets. And to sum it up, we just really want to always know that we are moving through the flow. Whatever it is that we're going through, know that there's this river of life within you, and I'm moving through the flow with it. To practice that presence, to just close down the mind, stop the chatter, and just allow yourself to be in this present moment and just listen. Just let it carry you. Just like the meditation said, just let it all be released in that moment. And you will find that your inner self and your outer life will flow into one. Into one. There'll be a brighter day. And so it is.